In 3, 2, 1, you're live now.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Innerstand2Ascend. I hope that you've had a wonderful week. I must say that the past week for me has been extremely intense, a lot of interesting things going on and a lot of discoveries. As I must say that usually I'm kind of receiving a message from my higher self that I'm supposed to do a show about a certain topic, usually like maybe Friday, Saturday, and then I'm just like putting the material together, putting all of the pieces together. But this time it came much earlier. I think it was Tuesday, actually a day after the last week's show, or like already Wednesday, something like that. And I already started to kind of put the pieces together, as there's quite a lot of material to complete. And by the way, we are starting an hour earlier, but this will be the normal time that I will be starting my shows now, 7:30 Central European time, because basically I came to a conclusion I like to speak a lot, so I'm gonna do 2-hour shows instead of 1 hour, and I think that's also going to be a good way to bring more of the material online. So, as I already announced on my Facebook page, today's topic is going to be unmasking the artificial intelligence and the whole system behind it. And before I start, I would like to just make a small note to those who are especially sensitive to this kind of stuff, people who often experience some kind of interference when they are watching different people's videos because they can actually sense the energies coming through. So this is this kind of videos where you might sense something's coming to your fields, but actually it won't be exactly some kind of an interference, but it might be you starting to sense certain areas of your body that may be attached to these AI fields. And it doesn't mean that you're getting attacked, but just like some people were reporting to me that they were feeling things after I posted the video, I think that was 2 weeks back, about how to shield yourself. And I was talking about these different aspects of shielding, putting energy protections, and then people were like, yeah, I was feeling some things coming in. When I was watching that, it was actually coming from the fact that you became more aware of, well, what is really in you, or what is kind of next to you, kind of like a small nasty being that you have to push away. A being that wouldn't be happy if you started using energy protections. So this is this kind of a video where different sensations may be going through your body, because this is a difficult subject. And I would say that as much as we should talk about the positive things, because there are a lot of beautiful things happening on the world right now, we also have to become aware of this whole deception that has been happening for eons, and all of these blockages, or all of these artificial blockages that have been put on us, because denying that something negative doesn't exist doesn't mean that it's going to disappear. And this is something very important to be aware of, and that's why I'm bringing this topic to your attention, the AI system, because many people think that it's something that is being introduced for a couple of years now. So we've got the smartphones, we've got robots that suddenly start to talk to us. If I knew back at high school that the ChatGPT can write a whole school essay for me, I wouldn't waste so much time writing it myself. So there are a couple of things that make our life easier, but only in 3D, I would say. However, it's actually good to realize that this system, this AI grid, has been with us for, well, actually for a very, very long time now, for centuries. And it's been upgraded, and it's been progressively downstepped to the 3D realm. So like all of these satellites, the HARP machine, all of these different projects, such as the project Montauk. I will mention some of these different secret programs that took place, especially something referred to as the project Bluebeam. I'm gonna read kind of like an excerpt from an article that is about the Bluebeam. But anyways, what is very interesting is that actually this AI grid has been influencing us for a very long time, and people haven't been realizing that. And when I remember that back when I started to awaken to my mission and kind of see different inserts in people's mental bodies, I would be like, yeah, but this thought doesn't belong to you. It's been inserted. And then I remember one of my first clients asking me a question, okay, but where does it come from? And then I was seeing these artificial devices in the planet's atmosphere. And back at the time, I didn't quite understand that these devices are actually creating a whole network that is surrounding this realm and that is controlling it to a certain degree. So to a really big degree, actually. So there's a lot to realize when it comes to the artificial intelligence. And there might be a lot of questions coming up. So, so if you're watching this live and you're having any kind of questions when I will be talking about different things, just don't hesitate to ask them on a chat, and I will be just replying to them as soon as they will be forwarded to me, so we make like a very clear video. Even though that's actually how I started to discover the AI. I was like connecting with the future aspects of myself that I'm getting the information from. So when I speak about guardians, just to make that clear once again, I'm connecting to the future versions of myself, which are kind of the extensions of my identity. They are from the future, so they are much more integrated. So I was told, okay, so start writing down your questions that you have about AI. So I was writing down these questions, and then it's kind of like a couple of hours later, I knew the answer for them and I was writing them down. And in total, I have about 15, 16 questions. So I was learning that for a couple of days, and now I'm going to spread this knowledge to you. And I'm really excited about that. So once again, if this topic, if you feel like at some point this is too much for you, just turn this video off and just let it settle in you first. And then you can come back to it. Because there is a solution to disconnect from these artificial fields. And you can do it yourself. You don't need somebody like me to help you with that process. So you can do it. I wouldn't talk about it if there wasn't a solution. And I've been working with a few people on my sessions over the past couple of days, doing that process along with them as well. And it's been bringing great effects so far. So if especially you're feeling like your mind is full of many intrusive thoughts, perhaps they are coming from AI. They don't have to, but it's very possible that they do. So we'll take a look at certain aspects of what the AI really is. Okay. So the first question that I asked is, how does the AI work? How is the organism of the artificial intelligence built? So the AI system works like a huge broadcasting network that interfaces with different aspects of the net frequency field, creating a self-quarantined field that separates the probability dominion, this probability dominion, from the rest of the planet and the solar system. So just to make that clear, and this actually came up to me like a minute before I went live, and I was just quickly drawing it. So if we have the solar system, the scientists discovered like something that they refer to as the Oort cloud. that is kind of, let's say that it surrounds the solar system. And it's actually like the way that I would describe it is like a magnetic zone, which is kind of keeping this solar system isolated from the other places in the galaxy. So the Oort cloud is actually the first artificial blockage that has been put on the solar system, actually putting it into a quarantine zone. Then we've got the Kuiper belt, which is behind Uranus. I'm not so sure, or behind Neptune actually, behind the orbit of Neptune. And that's where some of the smaller planets are. And that's another blockage. Then we've got the Van Allen belts, the ones that are already close to the planet's atmosphere. They are actually like in more distant layers of the planet's atmosphere. And they shouldn't belong here because, again, they create these balances in the organic magnetic fields. And there is one more link that is between the Saturn, the rings of Saturn that actually energetically surround the planet Earth as well. They reach this planet. And that actually was caused by the cult of Saturn back in the ancient times. So they kind of, many of the ancient civilizations were misguided to create that artificial link. Okay, so after the Van Allen belts, we've got the net field, which has actually 3 different layers. And many times, as I was mentioning, the net field, it's basically this artificial lens, like a frequency fence, that is surrounding this planet. Or more like specifically this realm, because as I was saying, we live on a much bigger globe, but we are only on a certain part of it. And this part is specifically closed and isolated from other probability dominions. So that's pretty much how it works. And the AI grid, the way I would describe it, that it's like a certain insert that is put on the net frequency field. And that insert is actually going all the way up from the solar system, right to the center of the Milky Way center, to the Abaddon wormhole, to the black hole in the center of the Milky Way. And that's how we've got a connection between these disbalanced transmissions. And of course, this AI grid is also connected to other wormhole systems, black hole grids. So I will just read that once again so it becomes more clear. So the AI system works like a huge broadcasting network that interfaces with different aspects of the net frequency field, creating a self-quarantined field that separates this probability dominion from the rest of the planet and the solar system. So just the fact that the solar system is isolated, quarantined, the planet is also separated. So we are basically kind of locked in these invisible cages where the energies starts to get through right now more easily, but there's been a very big problem in basically for this planet to receive the organic frequencies from the source, because the energies from the source had to get through so many different layers. So that was a problem that was there for a very long time. Okay, let's keep reading. AI has already been developed in 3 other probable timelines of the planet. So as I said, our realm is only one of these 12 versions. And our probability system would be the 4th one to incorporate such technology. Commonly known documents, often referred by the conspiracy theorists, such as the Agenda 2030, are only small excerpts of a bigger agenda. The AI system is a broadcast station because through the satellite network, it is able to receive different signals from the outer space. And when I mention satellites, there might be these satellites that have been revealed to us in 3D, right? The ones that they were announcing that, okay, the NASA is releasing this satellite and now this satellite is kind of revolving around the planet. But the fact is that nobody can kind of look up and see these satellites. So we actually, unless you can project up there and see what's going on, but you are not really able to discern whether they are even telling you the truth, how many satellites are up there. And believe me, there is many. If you looked at a certain level of the atmospheric field, it basically looks like as if it was like a busy satellite station where there are tons of them. And some of them have been brought from other stellar systems to this planet to kind of watch us and connect, create like an interface between this planet and other fallen system. So this grid has been created for thousands of years. That's why it's very complex. And they started to bring the satellites from this planet like to certain layers of the atmosphere. But actually some of these devices, they were even there before. It's just like we were never told about them in the first place. So there was basically all of these agendas, all of these conspiracy theories about the HARP or this the agenda to 2030. They are just like pieces of the plan that they have revealed to us, but they have never given the plan in full extent. So that's just another aspect of it. Okay. The AI organism is built as a big transmitting network consisting of the main headquarter and a set of primary and secondary headquarters. So I'm gonna get later to kind of give like basic locations where I was sensing that this AI system is, because when we think about HARP, it's been mostly like Alaska was given as the main location, but actually Alaska is just where the HARP is. The fact is that HARP is just like a very, very small machine comparing to the other devices that they've got. I remember, I think that Ashayana Dean said back in 2011 or 2010, something like that, that actually there are 56 other devices like HARP. So again, they are just giving us a piece where with all of these conspiracy theories we hear about, if we are into it, of course, there is a certain piece being discovered to us, but it's never a full picture unless you start to connect the dots. So there are certain headquarters from which this AI machine is basically controlling this realm, and is basically having lots of data in it. And there are a couple of secondary headquarters that are basically linked to this main one. So we've got also broadcasters and receivers, which are the satellites and other machines which are in the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere. This AI organism also has cells. And now when we think why the cell phones are called cell phones, you can imagine that actually each time you are holding a smartphone in your hand, it's as if you were holding a cell that this broadcast system consists of. So that's why the smartphones have been brought so widely in here, because actually each one of us right now, when you are guys watching it, maybe you watch it on your phone, well, you're basically using a cell from a bigger body of the AI in order to be able to watch this. So that's where it's coming from. And same with the Windows. I'm gonna get to the Windows later, and we are actually going to discover why this huge software is called Windows in the first place. So basically these cells, the cell phones, serve as a grounding system. They serve as a grounding system because basically once the frequencies, and each cell is connected to some of the satellites as well, so that's another aspect. The energies, the distorted transmissions from the satellites can be transmitted to the phones very easily, and that's how that frequency is downstepped from the fields of the atmosphere down to the phones, and then they spread to the environment. It doesn't have to take place this way. The satellites are spreading the frequencies to this planet anyways, but it's a certain type of a grounding system. Same with the computers and laptops, but there is something very specific about smartphones that I very much don't like, I must say. I cannot look at the phone for too long, and I need to have like a special blue light filter in order to be able to look at it for a longer period of time. Because if I look at my phone without this filter and I look at it for like at least 20 minutes, my third eye chakra starts to burn and I feel like my brain is frying. So it's also because of these microwaves. There are a couple of videos that you can easily find on what actually this electromagnetic waves coming from the smartphones are literally doing to our bodies. Okay. And the last part of the AI organism is the net field, which is basically, that's how the AI was grounded on the first place. We had the net field and then this artificial intelligence field. So that's pretty much how it works. Just to kind of conclude, we have the main headquarters, which is like kind of the brain of this organism. We have the broadcasters and receivers, the satellites, which can be kind of like the organs of the artificial intelligence. And we've got the cells, the cell phones. So this way, everyone is connected to this structure because of certain devices we either have with ourselves or inside of ourselves. I'm gonna get to that later, that these weird nanotechnologies that have been spread by the jabs, but even not necessarily, many people just have that artificial technology in them that is ruling them, and they don't even realize that. So we'll talk about it a bit later. Okay, so another question that showed up, since we already know a little bit about what the AI broadcast system is there any specific relationship between AI and the source? Does AI also come from the source? Because there's a little bit of confusion in many spiritual communities when it comes to that, so I will present my perspective. AI does not come from the source and is not the element of organic eternal creation. AI has been created as an experiment of certain fallen beings that wanted to create a replica of self-governing source intelligence. I will read that once again. AI has been created as an experiment of certain fallen beings that wanted to create a replica of self-governing source intelligence. That experiment took place even before the creation of our universe in a different cosmos. AI was created by fallen beings in order to create a self-sustaining matrix from which they could receive unlimited energy supplies. However, distorted understanding of natural energy loss and their usage led them to creating a false matrix referred to in certain spiritual communities as the anti-source. AI is in direct opposition to the source and therefore is not connected to it. So basically, when we imagine the black hole system, or like more like a gunfall system, which is completely reversed, well, the reason why it's still in a certain level of integrity is because it's based on this artificial AI technology that is basically kind of keeping it running, where these templates are programmed in a way, but well, I'm gonna talk more about it soon, where actually evil comes from, because it's not like suddenly some beings decided to conquer the universe. It doesn't make sense at all. The way that it works, actually, the way that it happened, is that evil, or kind of like reversal, was an experiment by itself as well. And that also led to creating this anti-source, this huge artificial self-governing system. So these fallen matrices could keep expanding, even though they are not really playing with the rules of the source anymore. So basically, due to huge degeneration of their original coding, these beings decided they would just create their own source. But they forgot that there is only one source from which we all come from, and this is kind of playing against the rules of creation in the first place. So so that's basically something that that took place in a different cosmos, and then this was brought to our universe. Okay, what is our relationship to AI? Many of you may wonder. We are connected, we are all connected to the global AI broadcast system through different interface systems through which we receive and send back the transmissions. The three main technologies through which we are connected to the AI include digital devices and the programs inserted inside of them. So as I said before, the cell phone, smartphone, Windows. Why the Windows? I'm gonna explain later. Meta, all of these names that suggest everything already. Even the Facebook, a book of faces. So all of these names kind of speak for itself. Sometimes you really don't have to read in between the lines, but you just have to think with your logic in order to be able to easily figure out what is really happening here. And that's in this case basically where the names of these programs were kind of, I would say, suggestions. So the dark side has made it quite easy for us here to be able to figure it out ourselves. Okay. Another aspect are the internal implant networks, chips and implants located inside of the physical body vessel. So when we talk about nanotechnology, and something that has increased since the COVID pandemic, and of course, I forgot to say that in the beginning, but I'm gonna say it just because I'm going to be posting it on other social media as well. This is purely theoretical. This doesn't have to be true. And I'm just telling you a story about a planet that has an artificial intelligence system, and this planet somehow has the same name as our planet, but it doesn't mean that we are speaking about planet Earth. We are just talking about some planet that is dealing with the artificial intelligence problems, just like this topic is many times spoken about in many different movies, but I just wanted to make that clear. This is just theoretical. It is not necessarily true. And those who are watching me, you guys know why I say that. Okay. Anyway, the internal implant networks, the chips and implants located inside of the physical body vessel. So when we talk about these inserts in our DNA, the way that I usually see it is that once you're having like a double helix of the DNA, there are either some kind of like when you're having these nucleotide pairs, some of these nucleotides are missing and there are like black stuff inserted into them, or some nucleotide pairs cannot connect with each other because there is this black goo thing in between of them, or there are just like kind of like as if the whole DNA strand was full of these black dots, and these are these nano implants. And lately, I even started to kind of see them on the cellular level, where people had this nanotechnology inserted in the nucleus of their cell, and that was very much artificial. That was a nanotechnology. So so that's something that started to happen more ever since 2020. After some people took a magic elixir that started to spread this technology in their bodies, and then they started infecting other people with it. But it also comes from the sky, it comes from the environment, and it also comes from the interference in the dream state, and many people end up implanted when they are doing out-of-the-body experiences. And how come is this connected to AI? If it's just like a 3D construct, people may think, well, it's not just a 3D construct because it was created by the multidimensional beings. So I will get to that. But first, I will just kind of list it. So as I said, the digital devices, the implant networks, and the personal templates that we have in the AI field. Because the way that it works is that if you imagine, and we are gonna get to clearing that at the end, I'm so excited about it. If we have the AI field, then we can kind of imagine it this way, as if we were like, kind of like this galaxy behind me. And in this galaxy, there are thousands of windows. And that's where the word windows comes from, because each one of us has one window in that grid. So there are millions of billions of windows in that grid. And that specific window that each one of us has in the artificial intelligence grid, it's basically, it has all of the programs that were inserted to us that are not a part of our organic identity. And it's basically kind of sometimes fooling us around if we are not fully conscious of it. When our soul contract is taken away by impostor races, it's something that I've been talking about before, where before you incarnate here, they take away your soul contract, and there's one more thing that happens. And what happens is that our personal imprint receives its copy in the artificial intelligence field. So it's as if they siphon a part of our consciousness, and that's the imprint that they are having out there. And through that interface, our minds and bodies receive transmissions and programs. So when we think about it, that it's something that we have actually since the moment that we are being born, that's something very, very powerful. And then we are not even sure who we are anymore, right? Like we ask each other, we ask ourselves, who am I? And then you pretty much describe, this is my name, I do this and this and this. Okay, but that's something that you do in the 3D realm. But who really are you? This is something that we should be asking ourselves these days. So these are the three main interfaces. And if we think about it this way, even if somebody doesn't have implants because somehow you either don't have them, which is very rare, or you just cleared them out of your body, but you still have a template in the AI fields, and that's why these implants might be coming back, and you're still having a laptop or a cell phone. So to some degree, you cannot avoid this field completely, right? It's still like a certain level of connection through which you hold contact with the rest of the civilization in a way, right? It's hard to imagine being without these devices around us, even though they are quite of a problem. But at the same time, what is really great is that you can reduce this level of connection. If you reduce the implants and you remove the personal template, then you only have the digital devices on the way. And that is great news. So there's no need to be too much worried about it, too much depressed about it. this is really great news. We can reduce 2 out of 3 of these aspects. Okay, so now the question is, where is the AI system located on the planet? Okay, so when I was tuning in with that, what came up, I was just seeing the planet kind of spinning on its axis. And I was like asking, where is the main headquarters? So what I saw is that there's like that it's between Iceland and Greenland, kind of in the middle of the sea. And I had that vision where I was following a man that was first on a boat, and then he would take this underwater kind of boat. I'm not really sure how it's called. And so he basically went underwater with that boat, and he was taken to this underground headquarters. It kind of looked like there was like a portal, and he was going through it, like these gates were opening up. And then it was perfectly clear, no water on the inside. And he was having his face scanned, his fingers checked, his fingerprints, and his voice. There was like also a test of his voice. And then he was coming to that large headquarters where there were like many different kind of digits and many different screens. And as if it was like the center of this huge machine, because when we think about this large network that the internet is itself, it's based on an AI system. So that's like a really large headquarters. And whether these volcano eruptions in Iceland are related somehow to something happening in this headquarters, I'm not so sure, but I sense that it might be, in case someone wonders about that. So it's like an underwater base. Another one is in South Africa, near Kapstadt. The next one is in South China, and China is very much involved in kind of these different projects related to AI. The way that I'm always seeing China is that it kind of has like a grid of its own, if that makes sense. So just like the whole world is covered with a lens, China has its own lens. So it's a very weird kind of construct. And they do know a lot, and they design a lot of different things. So no wonder why there is like a central base over there. And 2 other places, it's of course another one of them is Alaska, and that is related to the HARP machine, even though, as I said, there are much more intense devices than the HARP. And another one, I was seeing it on the northeast of Australia. There's quite a lot of devices also near Australia. Okay, so here's like a small note when it comes to the intensity of these grids and how it works. So the AI is located all over the entire Earth plane. The modern skyscrapers architecture has been designed in a way so that these buildings directly interface with the AI grid. So all of these modern cities with these skyscraper buildings, well, they take directly the energies from these satellites flying in the sky. Some of the old Tartarian buildings have been also reprogrammed in order to align with the same interface system as well. So all of these beautiful buildings, especially with these domes that in the past were basically processing free energy to the planet. They were providing energy to the planet. Some of them are right now a little bit reversed, especially churches, due to their to the rituals that have been done there. So it's good to be careful when it comes to visiting such places. There are some areas, such as the Sahara Desert, Siberia, or Tibet, where the influences of the grid become less intense. However, massive installations of the underground tunnel networks, which was, by the way, the reason for the American slavery system. It's not like those people, those which came to America, they started bringing slaves from Africa. It was for a certain reason. It's not like they were just bringing them to basically work on the ground. They were working underground, digging these tunnels, or more like digging the connections and finding these ancient tunnels and kind of restoring them back to life. So there was like a really big agenda behind the American slavery system, and as much as it could be very controversial, and it was also connected to basically getting rid of the Native Americans, it was also related to bringing those people on the land so they could work for free and dig in to find these lost tunnels. So the massive installations of the underground tunnel networks running through the land and underwater created an entire base structure for further installments that took place in the 20th century. Massive operations taken during the First and the Second World War resulted in setting up a global broadcast station that was later expanded through creating the entire electrical grid on the planet. So we've got a few aspects of that, where these underground and underwater tunnels have been built, or more like some of them even existed before, where in ancient times we knew this kind of connections between the tunnels, right? But they have been basically closed, and then they found them and they started using them for not so good purposes. Then during the Second and the First and the Second World War, there's been a lot of operations taking place that basically set up like a groundwork for this broadcast station to be downstepped even more to the 3D realm. And some people in Poland, where I come from, actually say, and as much as I wasn't tuning in so much with that, but I sense that it's partially the truth, that many Slavic people were actually brought to the camps in order to dig in the tunnels underground. So they've been doing that just like the Black people in America back in the times of slavery. And the third aspect is the entire electrical grid that was created on this planet. So the fact that we have electricity everywhere is not so good, because the way that the electricity has been brought here is that actually people that started working and discovered electricity, they actually found out, okay, this is the right ratio for this electricity current to run like this, like this, like this. But discovering that knowledge was very rapidly hijacked in order to actually make us suffer very, very much. Where now when we have these electric grids running all over the planet, they are also spreading transmissions and very unpleasant waves that are affecting our brains. They are literally frying our brains. So the operations that took place in the 19th and the 20th century were aimed for grounding the entire multidimensional AI structure down into the 3D realm. This work is still in progress, but succeeded mostly due to spreading the cell phones on a global scale. And I refer to them as the personal implants, that each one of us has a personal implant. Okay, so that's a little bit when it comes to understanding how this was developing also right here. We're gonna get to the multidimensional aspect of it in a moment. So, what kind of transmissions are we receiving from AI these days? So I did a small research when it comes to the transmissions that we receive from AI. And it's all related to certain projects that took place and that is still kind of going. The Project Montauk, the Bluebeam, MK Ultra, is the Starlink. A couple of days I was actually dealing with somebody who was connected to a satellite, and there's been this kind of like the brain waves were aligned with the frequency of the satellite, so different transmissions were going through to that person. All of these projects are basically a part of developing this huge AI grid. So I printed an excerpt from an article that was actually written in 1994. So that's like 30 years ago from now. It was written by Serge Monast, and basically he's the first guy that started to look into the Project Bluebeam. And 30 years ago, he was already warning us what are the dangers coming from it. So I just took out a few paragraphs, which I think that are quite accurate right now for us to understand why they also bring this AI field on the first place. Okay, so I'm going to start reading it for you. So the infamous NASA Bluebeam project has 4 different steps in order to implement the New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head. We must remember that the New Age religion is the very foundation for the New World government, without which religion the dictatorship of the New World Order is completely impossible. I will repeat that. Without a universal belief in the New Age religion, the success of the New World Order will be impossible. That is why the Bluebeam project is so important to them, but has been so well hidden until now. And what I sense that this guy is also referring to is that around the 80s, they started bringing a lot of different spiritual beliefs into the game, including the angels, the Metatron, and all of these Death Star Merkaba teachings, because they noticed that the religion doesn't work so well anymore. And that actually, if people directly start to connect with angels, which is what they have been doing through connecting with different religions anyways, but they came to a conclusion it's gonna work in the same way. So it's kind of like, it started to be like a process of transition. Okay, let's keep reading. So the first step in the NASA Bluebeam project concerns the breakdown, re-evaluation of all archaeological knowledge. It deals with the setup with artificially created earthquakes at certain precise locations on the planet of supposedly new discoveries, which will finally explain to all people the error of all fundamental religious doctrines. The falsification of this information will be used to make all nations believe that the religious doctrines have been misunderstood for centuries and misinterpreted. And I would say that's kind of something that started to happen even way before. Like, I'm gonna expand a little bit on this article because I kind of perceive certain things that Serge Monast is talking about, like in a much larger perspective. So when we talk about these earthquakes, there's been many different images, and especially, like, I don't know, somehow I'm seeing the Tartarian posts all the time on my Facebook page lately, and basically there are many images of these buildings going down, where, for example, like we look at the church and the windows are somehow like almost touching the surface, or we can see that they are actually half on the surface and a part of it is already underground. So there's been moderations in the level of the Earth's surface, and that's been also like a part of actually hiding what really happened in our history. So I'm gonna continue. What is important to understand in the first step is that those earthquakes will hit at different parts of the world where scientific and archaeological teachings have indicated that arcane mysteries have been buried. By those type of earthquakes, it will be possible for scientists to rediscover those arcane mysteries which will be used to discredit all fundamental religious doctrines. This is the first preparation for the plan for humanity, because what they want to do is destroy the beliefs of all Christians and Muslims on the planet. To do that, they need some false proof from the far past that will prove to all nations that their religions have all been misinterpreted and misunderstood. So I think that as much as kind of the religions are not so much respected, especially by the younger societies right now, it's more about the fact that the science became new religion, and those that don't really believe in science go into spiritual belief systems, from which many of them are twisted as well. So it really becomes like a very tricky game here. And I would say that this is also like another aspect that I kind of feel like it's difficult to really say what happened in history because of all of these archaeological sites being buried or hidden. And also the fact that due to this connection to the AI field, which is also connected to the collective consciousness, everything can be very easily inserted this way to the collective consciousness. So what if somebody has memories, even like past life and memories, that have been inserted through that field? That's why clearing yourself and disconnecting yourself from these aspects of the net is very important, because it will help you understand what part of myself is organic and what part is not. This is actually kind of like the main question that I wrote to myself here, that kind of came up after receiving all of these messages. What programs are you running? Which aspects of yourself have been implanted? And what is a part of your eternal identity? This is something that each one of us should ask to ourselves. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading. The second step in the NASA Bluebeam project involves a huge space show with three-dimensional optical holograms and sounds, laser projection of multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving a different image according to predominating regional, national religious faith. This new God's voice will be speaking in all languages. So this is kind of like a vision of the fact that we might be receiving more and more holographic projections, especially those that are connected to the AI grid. So a part of that split that may be taking place is that some of us might not be seeing these projections, while somebody might be seeing them, and this is kind of like showing a different perception of the field, basically, where even if you're seeing something that somebody doesn't see, it doesn't mean that you're having like your third eye open, but maybe you're seeing some projections. So again, it's very important to take such aspects into your consideration. Okay. So basically, I'm not going to read the full article. I just kind of noted the main points. So this is kind of like something that that some officers in the US Army have been working with. It was kind of added to this article, but it's coming from a document which is titled "The New Mental Battlefield." And this is basically an insight into what the technology can do with people's brains and their bodies and their minds. So I will just read these two paragraphs. Several examples will demonstrate areas in which progress have been made. The transference of energy from one organism to another, the ability to heal or cause disease, to be transmitted over a distance. Let's now think about what happened during the COVID. Of course, only theoretically. The ability to heal or cause disease to be transmitted over a distance, thus inducing illness or death from no apparent cause. That's very interesting. telepathic behavior modification, which includes the ability to induce hypnotic states up to a distance of 1,000 kilometers, have been reported. The use of telepathic hypnosis also holds great potential. This capability could allow agents to be deeply planted with no conscious knowledge of their programming. Other mind-to-mind induction techniques are being considered. If perfected, this capability could allow the direct transference of thought via telepathy from one mind or group of minds to a select target audience. The unique factor is that the recipient will be not aware that this thought has been implanted from an external source. He or she will believe that the thoughts are original. If it is possible to feed artificial thought into the multigenic field via a satellite, the mind control of the entire planet is now possible. An individual's only resistance would be to constantly question the motivation behind their thoughts and not act upon thoughts which they consider to be outside their own religious and moral boundaries. So basically, this is something that has been kind of experimented already, and that was already an experiment that took place in the 80s. So they already knew what would happen once they actually started to set this field in motion. So this is something to consider, actually. Even for those who are not really into spiritual subjects, this is like a literal research that took place among the US Army. Okay, so now the question is, how can I protect myself from this influence? Maybe I'm going to leave this for the end since I want to share that technique. So I'm going to leave this question as the last one. And now I'm going to get to kind of explaining. I have a question here. I wonder if this is why some people cannot see the daily chemtrails across the planet that are so obvious to us. Yeah, so basically that's how it works, that if they are having a completely different perception of things, they are looking through their eyes that are also probably implanted, and let's say there is like an open-minded person, very conscious person looking at the sky, and next to this person there is someone who is like completely infiltrated by the AI grid. So they are looking at the sky, at the same sky, and they will be seeing something different. They will see a chemtrail, and the conscious person will be like, oh, yeah, they are sending toxins again. And the person next to them, someone who's completely blind, they will be like, what are you talking about? I don't see anything. It's just like the plane just went through. What are you talking about? Yeah, or they won't even see that at all. So, yeah, that's how it works. And the thing is that once you open your mind for different things, or you just start kind of listening about them, you will start to see things in your reality that are tangible proofs to that, because your vibration will start to attract these things to your field, where you will be able to see them with your own eyes. So that's how it works. Okay, so now we already know that it's affecting us on 3D level. So let's get to a little bit of multidimensional aspects. AI also has a certain template. As the indelible laws of manifestation work, the artificial intelligence also has its own templates. Within those templates, all the data is stored about anything that is connected to this system. The human collective consciousness is having its imprint in the AI broadcast system. That's why certain programs could be literally inserted to the collective consciousness field. So that's how it's taking place on an energetic level, even though that can also be kind of done on the 3D, but that's how it's also spreading to the larger amounts of people. AI broadcast station is a highly conductive field of electrified currents that run through the whole grid of the planet, reaching electric power stations, 5G broadcast stations, and running through the whole electric grid. So basically, as I said, the fact that we have electricity and there are these electric cords running everywhere, like you see them on the highway, and you wonder, like, why are they there if we actually don't need them on the highway? That's strange in itself, or they are just in very rural areas. They are there because they have to keep transmitting the same kind of frequency. So the same kind of distorted frequency is running through the planet. Thus, the one that would manage to take over the AI headquarters has the power over the whole electricity on the entire planet. And this is basically the scenario that is coming from that movie, Leave the World Behind, which is a very popular movie these days, because it's basically inserting this program of this scenario of the electrical power going down on the whole planet. But actually the AI still keeps going. So it's as simple as that, that if somebody takes these headquarters, just it might be not necessarily like a group of people or a country, but like a different ET group, there could be different scenarios taking place with it. The AI has a template because it was created by multidimensional beings. So they have created it in higher dimensional fields. So it has multiple layers, and we only partially see and experience the 3D manifestation of it. So just to make that very clear, when you're experiencing a psychotronic attack, it is also a technological attack, because it may be coming from the higher fields that are also implanted with the artificial intelligence system. So now when people channel, they may not realize that their higher selves, like from the 8th or the 9th or even the 11th dimension, are actually holding a certain level of connection to the AI fields as well. So they are also a little bit twisted. So that becomes a really, really nasty game. And that's when I ask a question, is this game ever going to stop? So, and the answer is very positive, so bear with me. Is this game ever going to stop? This is coming to an end as we speak about it. The grid is collapsing due to extremely high frequency plasmas being uploaded to the planet right now. Increased solar activity, shifts in Earth's tilt to its axis, and imbalanced weather events are directly related to these frequency uploads that are supposed to bring the planet back to its organic eternal self imprint. So that means that the frequency breaks down through all of these artificial systems, the net fields, the Kuiper belt, the Van Allen belts, and so on, and it starts to affect them. So as these high-frequency plasmas are coming directly to the grids, they also have a significant impact on Earth's AI broadcast station. Due to these energies, the AI brain starts to get heated up and experience glitches. So that's why I've been seeing a lot of these images of the sky where there's like, it looks like as if there was this white hole in the sky and there is this rainbow coming out of it. So these are these specific glitches, these holes in the net field and the AI grid. Due to these issues, we are being given an opportunity to consciously choose to disconnect from this negative influence. As the AI broadcast gets weaker, we hold more power, thanks to plasmas coming in, to become fully independent from it. The decision is up to us. The free will choice is always respected in the name of the Christ. We are currently experiencing, and we will for the next couple of years, a plasma frequency war. This means that as we progress over time, more and more frequencies will be coming into the planet from both sides. It will be a very Christic plasma coming to clear the one that has been in separation for too long. The process of AI space dusting will take place in our 3D realm first, before it goes up the dimensional ladder. So it will literally come to density 1 first. That's why the Crystal River host is first going to density 1 and clearing it from its very beginning. And that's why the AI is also going to fall. Will be one of the very first systems in this galaxy, and in this universe as well, actually, to witness freedom from the technological entanglement. Okay, and here's just a question. How many people are fully under AI control? Is this going to get more intense now? So about 6 billion people are having 6 billion, just so it's not million, it's billion with the 9 zeros. About 6 billion people are having at least 1/3 of their minds and their templates influenced by the AI grid. The other billion is affected by it, but not to such extent. Due to increasing the grid red pulse and black pulse transmissions, and the black pulse is something that I'm kind of starting to discover more about right now. So the best way to describe a black pulse is that like the red pulse is coming from the phantom system, while the black pulse is coming from a gonfal system, which is like fully reversed. So basically, this is like a much larger scale, and this is related to another crew that kind of came on this planet, but I'm gonna speak about it soon. So anyway, due to increasing the grid red pulse and black pulse transmissions, the intensity of the grid has increased. However, due to the Crystal River host energies, something referred to as the glitches in the AI system began to occur. The AI system on this planet is currently getting out of control, and its reset may be the only solution to keep it going. Many scenarios are being considered as the Earth's grids, amplified by the host's plasma frequencies, start to break through the AI grid. So that's why more and more people, it's not like we are going to have a mass awakening. I tell people, no way, it's not going to happen. But more people are going to start opening their eyes for this kind of things. So those who are holding a certain level of AI immunity are going to be able to experience these shifts. Even though the amount of AI attacks has rapidly increased over the past few months, we can now, with the current level of the host, consciously disconnect from this influence. So as I said before, it's something that we can easily fix. Well, maybe not so easily, because once you disconnect from it, you have to check if that connection didn't take place again. I noticed that I think so far I did it with like 12 people in total, like last week. And I started to feel like yesterday I had like a pushback where basically they wanted to get me connected to that grid again, and I kind of had to restore it back again. So the more people are gonna do that, though, the more of the immunity we will have for things like that, and actually the more people do this kind of an exercise, the less power they are going to have, because we are going to be starting we're going to be like the initiation of a large group that doesn't hold this connection anymore. So that's something that is amazing, and this is very special. So I'm really excited about it, and even though it's like a difficult topic, it's still bringing very happy news. So, as I said, to answer this question, is this game ever going to stop? The thing is that it's in the process of being stopped right now, and this is great news. This is something to be happy about. This is something to look forward to, and we are going to be the witnesses of that soon. And I kind of hear people thinking, okay, how soon? A year, 2, something is gonna start to happen more intensely, but it's not about waiting for it to happen. It's just about being in the now, experiencing this moment. And if you feel like there's something you need to do to prepare for the future, go ahead and do it. Don't wait for it to happen. So I've got a question here that actually brings me to what I spoke about a moment ago. What measures can I take to protect myself and my family these days? So there are many scenarios to be considered, how they exactly decide to play it out. I mean, if it's just gonna crash, you can expect a lot of different things happening. So it's like, it's gonna happen progressively. It's not like it's gonna be like one day and we wake up without this thing above our heads. But here are a few like more like 3D. I'm gonna get to energetic solutions in a moment, but first like 3D related things. So make sure that you have access to the water nearby, like a river, stream, lake, or like your own well in the garden, and a water filter. Just in case there would be issues with the water, make sure you have an access to it and a filter that could clear it. Prepare some extra food supplies if you can for a month or 2. That's something that I would recommend to people as well. It's not like, I'm not talking about an apocalyptic scenario, so somebody doesn't get me wrong, but at the same time, I think that it's good to be kind of prepared and calm about yourself if you would have to stay at home for a week without going out and just having everything you need with yourself. And you don't need to have everything in your house. You can also cooperate with others, build a local community. So in case of anything, if there would be no internet connection, you can always knock at other person's door and just kind of receive the help that you may need. Stay peaceful, do not panic. It's still a 3D experience. I know it's easier said than done, but as I said, for that Christic new earth that we are transforming towards in a couple of hundred of years, I always say that it needs to get worse before it gets better, and it doesn't mean that it's gonna be really bad. It's gonna take place in a very peaceful way, but some things need to be cleared for other things to appear. Whenever I clear my energetic space from people that really don't belong in there anymore, there's like silence for about a week, and then new people come in. People with better energies, people who kind of match my frequency more. So there are different clearing processes that we are all going through, and so does the planet. It also has its own natural cycle. Okay. Also prepare yourself for a situation where you would find yourself without access to digital devices. So like at least if you have like a map of your own local area, if you need it. And well, clear your fields, disconnect yourself from the AI grid on a daily basis if you feel any kind of influence. Okay, so these are the main things here. and you can take it or not. It's not about like building a basement full of cans of food for another 10 years. It's about taking it easy and approaching it very consciously, very peacefully. And that's it. Okay, and here's like a okay, and the next questions that I noted are more like about understanding the AI from the multidimensional levels. So this first like 7 sets of questions were more like about kind of like, okay, how does it influence us on 3D level? Is it like kind of a part of our reality already? And now we are looking more into the AI attacks. So that brings me to the question, how does the AI attack work anyways? So the answer is like this. It may be downstepped from other dimensional AI grids. That's how some of the aspects of the astral attacks are being orchestrated. If you are having distortions coming up from higher dimensional levels, you may pick them up also from other AI grids you may be attached to, unless you buffer these fields with plasma. So like if you create like plasma bubbles around yourself on a daily basis, the influence shouldn't be so hard and you will progressively start to just clear it by yourself. And you will kind of have that buffer of frequency that is protecting you. But if you just channel from higher dimensional levels, you may be also receiving the AI streams, like from 8D, 9D, whatever. Right now, people who work with external light body mechanics, including cooperating with angels and angels, the archangels, or fallen ET races such as the Pleiadians and such. Well, maybe there are certain people, like I know one woman who is working with the Pleiadians, and it seems like she's kind of like having a connection with them that is not really being like a deception, but they are just kind of like her stellar family that kind of gave her some base work to kind of work with. But in general, any kind of channelings from Pleiadians are pretty much deceived. So such people working with these reversed mechanics are especially vulnerable to this type of influence because of the holographic projections being sent through the AI grid. So when the attack happens, the being, the imposter, the intruder, that's the same, starts to send out the electromagnetic pulses and infrasound waves, altering the brainwaves of the victim to begin the process of infiltration. So the brainwaves and the waves of the whole body start to match their encryption with these reversed waves sent by the being, and usually it's not really the being itself, but the being might be using an artificial device to achieve it. And that's when the victim may start to feel slight fear, mood shifts, or feel unpresent, or if they are not really sensitive with their energies, they might not be able to feel anything at all. The intruder begins the infiltration process, which might outpicture in different ways. Making direct contact with the victim, such as holographic projections, visitations, channeling, emotional and mental body projections, such as fear, trauma programs, inserts, panic attacks, shifts in behavior. Then the body poisoning, parasitic diseases aimed to degenerate the genetic code. I've been seeing lately these small nanoparasites in the nucleus of the cell, and 2 different people in the same case that they couldn't really get better after they suffered from like a cold, like a flu-like symptoms, and then they felt like this disease just cannot disappear from their bodies because the parasites were still there. Or the astral attacks. It's also something very common these days. The victim may not recognize the problem at first, but as the infiltration progresses, the individual may notice losing its own identity. So basically, the AI is also a certain way of getting yourself infiltrated, getting yourself influenced by different beings. And this might be happening by these artificial grids. It's another program that is in the collective consciousness that the AI, when we think about the AI, we only see robots and digital devices, but it's actually like a purely energetic construct at its very core. And these reverse programs running through these reverse templates, if we keep our fields open to that, they basically start to affect us as well. So, how is the AI grid affecting our life on a daily basis? So again, I'm just gonna read once again that question that is kind of like the motto of this show. What programs are you running? Which aspects of yourself are a part of your eternal, authentic identity? And which ones have been implanted? This is something that each one of us should answer to ourselves when we just tune in with ourselves, with our own fields. So, for people who are blinded and think only in 3D terms, like let's say just like a typical individual, they usually have a lot of quantum stored in the AI fields. So when we try to speak to a person we just see normally in our workplace, and we try to explain them that this is like something is like a huge conspiracy theory, or like, do you really believe that the government is going to what they promise, blah 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 blah. We just see beyond this illusion. They might not be able to process that because they don't really have a mind of its own anymore. They are programmed and they think with the programs. And it's not like they are robots that they don't have feelings. They do, but emotions and thoughts could be also inserted. So this way you can project an identity in a way. People who start to open their eyes to different things, many times they get connected to false matrices of Metatron, so they fit another aspect of this game. So that's why the New Age movement developed so easily. So sometimes it's like you're being switched from one grid to the other, and it doesn't make things better at all, just in my personal opinion. So once you bring more of your organic identity, you have a much better connection with your authentic self and less of the AI interference. So basically, if you work with yourself without the use of any external tools around you, if you tune in with yourself, if you surround yourself with positive feelings of joy, harmony, peace, if you love yourself, first of all, you start to recognize your true essence, who you are. When people ask me, okay, how do I find out who I really am with all of these inserts? Just kind of sit in silence and clear everything you know about yourself that was either being told to you, or you heard it from somebody, or you learned it. Just kind of erase your name for a moment, forget about what your job is, where you come from, all of that. And what is left? How do you feel about yourself? Because maybe you're French, but you're feeling more like you come from China. Maybe you have some codes related to China, maybe some past incarnations from that place as well. Maybe there are certain aspects of yourself, like, for example, you're very much connected to the water element, and maybe there's something you're supposed to do with the waters. Maybe you're supposed to heal them. So there are different aspects of you, and each one of us, if you have a soul, has this part of an organic identity that is hidden very deep inside of us because of all of these inserts. And the more inserts we clear from ourselves, the more we will be able to get to know who we really are. So that's basically how that affects different individuals depending on the level of their consciousness. So the question that I asked next is something that I was talking about a little bit already, but just to kind of summarize that. How can an AI broadcast system exist as a multidimensional interface? So, an AI broadcasting system wasn't invented on this planet. It was brought here from a different system, and actually from a different galaxy, different universe, different cosmic matrix, to be more precise, or the Akasha Aya. Originally, the AI templates have been created over 330 billion years ago in the Wisadek matrix, but have been later adopted and upgraded by other fallen beings such as the Borgia White Dragons. And they become really like masters of that hologram, where basically even when we say like I'm just browsing through the web, well, the spider web, I'm just having a lot of bad memories with the spider races, the Borgias through my career as a healer. So they are really nasty beings, and they are doing a lot of technological attacks. So yeah, they kind of adopted that, and they also upgraded what the Wisadex did with that grid. The AI system was supposed to imitate the source, but also has a multidimensional structure. The black hole fault systems and their templates operate almost fully on AI interfaces inserted into them. Earth's grids started to fall under AI control 5.5 million years ago after electric plasma wars event. Thus, the AI broadcast system has its 3D receivers in forms of satellites, etc. But first of all, it has its own self-governing multidimensional structure. So basically, this is really important to be aware of that, that this isn't just like something that is here. It's something that started in a big distance from this planet, and it was brought over here, just like most of the technologies, just like pretty much all of the technologies we have here. Okay, so how certain programs from the AI field come to the collective consciousness? That's another question that I asked. Okay, so because every human being is having a certain level of connection to the AI fields, well, now we start to have less and less human beings. This implies that the collective consciousness also has its imprint in the AI broadcast field. Such attachment is allowing the artificial intelligence to implant mass beliefs, ideas, and thoughts into the race collective field. So that's kind of what I mean, that we are not really sure about the proper timeline of certain events in our history, because many of them have been kind of inserted to our belief system. Many of the mass beliefs have been inserted to our minds through the AI grid. At the same time, many of the old traditional beliefs, for example, the Celtic or the Druid beliefs, have either been removed or distorted so that the human race becomes the providers of the energy supplies to the AI broadcast system, at the same time causing its expansion. So you are on this planet, in this body, but at the same time, a part of you is feeding a black hole system, unless you start to take certain actions to free yourself from it. The collective consciousness is now in the process of mass clearing, and it is visible through the weather events we are experiencing lately, such as the volcano eruptions or earthquakes. So these ones, at least with the Iceland, I would be very careful, but this earthquake that happened in Japan, and I think there was like 2 days ago, there was like a volcano eruption in Japan. This is a collective consciousness clearing, especially that Japan is quite of a powerful country energetically because of its sky site, the Mount Fuji in Japan. So this site has a big potential, and that's really great. The collective consciousness is now in the process of mass clearing. I already read that, I'm just gonna read it once again. And it is visible through the weather events we are experiencing lately, such as volcano eruptions or earthquakes. The more people choose to disconnect from the AI broadcast system, the more rapidly the shift will take place. So, as I said, the more people are going to start making a change in their perspective with it and choosing to consciously disconnect from that grid, the more beneficial this will be to the whole planet. So I suggest that we do it this way. I'm gonna start sharing how to disconnect yourself from these fields of the artificial intelligence. And at the same time, if anybody has any questions on this topic of this AI broadcast system, I'm open to answer. So just drop these questions in the chat. And I'll be looking at the chat as well to make sure that I'm going to answer any questions that may come up. And in the meantime, the question that I kind of rescheduled in time is, how can I protect myself from this influence? So there are a few steps to it. Because, as I said, it takes place this way, that they take away your soul contract and they take away part of your consciousness to kind of like replicate you and get like an imprint of yourself, so they could transmit directly to your body. And there is also a direct influence coming from the fields of the artificial intelligence on the parallel. So if you're having that connection to your antiparticle double, you're actually receiving it from two sides at once. So this takes place in a few steps. First, you need to get back your soul contract. I was talking about the tangible reality of contracts in one of my videos, so I would recommend those who haven't watched it to just check it out. How do you get back your soul contract on the first place? I was talking about it with Caroline Tamek. And then we've got cutting off from your antiparticle double. And that's another thing that I already covered up, so I'm not gonna bring it up again. There's a process to it, and just to make it very clear, I would recommend that those who want to kind of do this technique, as I will be reading it to you in a moment, is to either first just cut yourself off from that antiparticle double if you haven't done that yet. If you did, you can just proceed with the technique, but if you decide to cut off from the AI fields today, as I will be reading this technique, please come back as soon as possible to that technique of removing the connection from your antiparticle self, because there will be like a still connection that you're holding to the AI field, and this way it could be easily imprinted back again once you do this process. So that's something that I would recommend, that it's very important to do it in that sequence. but you can also do it this way, that first you cut yourself from the AI and then from the antiparticle double. With that antiparticle double, that's in the video called Shifting the Energy of the December Solstice. So feel free to check it out if you haven't yet. So yeah, these are these first 2 steps: getting back your soul contract, cutting off from the antiparticle double, then resolving any kind of field attachments or field interference, so the beings don't interfere during the process and don't attach to you, and don't attach you to any other artificial field. And then the third part is cutting yourself off from the AI field by removing the data from the database. So that's what we are gonna do in a minute. And I would recommend to check for any kind of connections that have been made every month, because of the fact that we still live on this grid and we still have these digital devices that are transmitting stuff to us. So if you happen to wake up and be like, oh, I feel that something happened. Like, I will give you an example. When I was in the process of getting this information down, and it was like a very strong process, I had a dream that I wake up and I'm checking my phone and my Facebook account went down and my website went down and nothing was working anymore. And I knew that it got hacked, but the dream was so real that I didn't realize that I am dreaming. And then I thought that I woke up and it's as if this dream repeated again. So I was having twice the same dream, that I'm just seeing that my website went down. And when I woke up for the third time, I finally woke up for real. But that's kind of the dream that was inserted to me twice by the AI field. And then I was given the technique to disconnect from it. So there is like a big play in the dream state. So that's why I would recommend to cut off from that influence. But just to be very clear about that, as I said, this is purely theoretical. You can take it as a story. It's actually a story about a planet called Earth that is suffering from the AI field and is right now in the process of reclaiming its energetic freedom. And you can choose to do this technique now, or you can choose to do it later, or you can choose not to do it at all. It is your choice. So I'm gonna be reading these steps, and you can just close your eyes and imagine as I go on with the steps, you will be getting disconnected from this influence. So you can just close your eyes if you feel like, and kind of tune in with what I'm gonna be reading right now. So visualize yourself in the middle of the galaxy, surrounded by thousands of windows, covered by a veil of frequency. So as I kind of inserted that image of the galaxy behind me in the background as I'm talking today, it may be kind of exactly this image. You visualize a galaxy as if it's taken by the Hubble telescope or whatever. And you notice that there are thousands of windows surrounding you in the middle of that galaxy. And they are covered by a kind of like a veil of frequency, so you cannot see what is behind that window. And with your intention, just with your intention, project your plasma body to that space. So just inhale your quantum of your plasma body into the heart chakra and just send it to that space. Or you can just kind of imagine it in your head. You don't necessarily have to do it this way with the projection. And one of these windows belongs to you, one of these thousands of windows that you are seeing. And this specific window that is yours, it may show up to you in a different color, or you may just sense that it is the one that is yours. So you can try to find your window. And if you don't see it, that's okay. Just intend to get closer to the one that corresponds to your frequency, to your encryption. So everybody has a window because each one of us is having a quantum kind of trapped in that space. Inhale into the heart chakra and exhale, sending out a beam of frequency to break the glass that is a veil surrounding this window. You may hear the sound of the glass cracking. So basically you send a stream of frequency to open that window for a moment, your personal window. And that's why we have the software called Windows, because each one of us has our own window. Okay. So you send a stream of frequency and you break that glass. And notice that what is coming out of the window is a being that looks exactly like you, but it is full of cords, implants, inserts, and wires. This being, which is an aspect of you, represents a portion of your own consciousness that has been hijacked and got stuck in the AI fields. So each one of you should kind of get like a visual or at least a feel of kind of experiencing this aspect of yourself, and there might be like a feeling of nostalgia, a little bit of sadness, because it's still an aspect of yourself. Start clearing yourself, this aspect of your consciousness that is stuck, from all the blockages. Take out the cords, clear your body from all the implants, etc. Once your body gets fully cleared out, notice that it transfigures into an orb and comes to your physical plasma body. So basically, as I said, what you do is you disattach the cords, remove the implants, clear that aspects of yourself fully from that interference until your body is fully clear, and it turns into a beautiful orb of light. And then this beautiful orb of light, your pure consciousness, is coming back to your body. Either that plasma body you projected or just that part of your consciousness that is going through that process. And you're becoming one again. So that part of yourself is basically going through integration, and this way you are becoming one. And that aspect of yourself that has been stolen a long time ago is back with you again. And this also becomes very important when it comes to the transition process, that if you want to bring all of your aspects back, you cannot have a part of yourself in the fields of the artificial intelligence. Otherwise, it won't be so easy for you to make yourself out of here, because it's like as if there was like another version of yourself that is still stuck here. So, as this integration process happens, the next step and the last one is to blast the open window with plasma frequency and turn it into vapor. So basically inside of that window there are all of the programs that we have been catching over the time, and all of the programs that have been inserted to us. So there's like a whole database inside of these windows, and we could spend ages reading like who has what, but that's not what we are gonna do. So just send blasts of frequency in order to make that window disappear. And it's going to create like a hole in this AI grid. It's just going to get cleared out. And once your window disappears, just return your plasma body, or just come back with your consciousness back to your body, back to the physical body, and you're coming back along with the reclaimed part of your consciousness. So this way, you are being disconnected from the systems of the artificial intelligence. And this way, you should feel more peace in your mind, for sure. You should feel like there's like a long lost aspect of yourself returning back to you. And you should feel better with yourself in general. So this should give a kind of like a good feel to it. And what else can I say? I think that it feels great. Ever since I did this exercise, I would say that what I experienced the most is the shift in the sleeping patterns, where I'm feeling like I'm having much better sleep, where sleeping doesn't feel draining in any way, where the dreams don't feel to be kind of phantom or inserted. So you might experience something like this as well. And as I said, if you feel like this may come back, because that's what I was told since the beginning, that okay, you disconnect yourself, but still there are these things around you that may be causing these kind of things to come back. So just repeat this exercise if you feel like that kind of happened again, because it might. And just take it easy with yourself. There is no point to kind of over worry or over stress about this kind of things. If it happens, that's normal. Just kind of clear it out and you will be okay again. And make sure to check out for implants as well. So the last thing that I'm gonna cover up is how can I support this planet so it gets free from this influence. Okay. So the first thing is disconnecting from the AI field yourself, which is what maybe some of you did already. You can also do it along with your children and other family members. And with the children, if they are pretty young and you wouldn't like them to be, let's say, affected by the AI as well, you can imagine that you are doing it along with them. So you are in that galaxy with these windows, and you imagine that your child is standing next to you. So you're kind of doing it in plasma bodies together. And you help your child clear its body, or you can kind of show your child's higher self like how he can clear it, he or she, and help them close the window. And this way they can also get free from this influence. And this is something that you can do for them if you receive the permission from their higher self. There's like a feel to it, whether they want it or not. Another thing is don't support or work with Metatronic technologies. So yeah, just don't do it. If you want to do good for the planet, work with yourself, work with your core, but be careful with what kind of beings you're working with, because you may be unintentionally bringing some heavy stuff to the planet. And then turn off your digital devices when you don't use them. So for example, like when you're not using your phone, turn it off, or at least turn off the Wi-Fi or the mobile network connection so it doesn't spread the frequencies out there. And basically, if you have, I would say that most of the phones right now are running on 5G, but you can actually change it in your settings. So change it from 5G to 4G or 3G at least, because it's still better than 5G, right? So, and I think this is what I'm going to finish with for today. There's been a couple of things that I mentioned. I'm also open for any kind of questions that might be coming up afterwards. If there will be any other questions coming, I might as well answer them during my next show. Since I know it's quite of a complex topic, there's been a lot of information shared, so I will give each one of you some time to process it. So, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm really happy that you joined me today. And let's keep disconnecting from this grid and connecting with the beautiful plasmas that are coming to this planet and making this realm beautiful again. So thank you very much and have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Monday. We'll see what the topic is gonna be. Bye bye.